Well, hi everybody. Welcome to an episode. Of course, when I start talking, the wind picks up.
That's not the wind.
That
is the souls of the Native Americans.
Is that why we called it Indian summer? All right. So, anyways, now to the real start. Not like that one that got me sent to HR. So, anyways, because I meant to say Native American summer or First Nation summer. My mistake. So, we just got done watching a movie called The Substance. Now, this was a recommendation from essentially the entire internet, but you went and saw it in theaters.
I saw it in theaters the day that it came out.
And he has been getting on my case about it ever since, which I must say you were correct. So, real quick, as we always do, we kind of do like our thoughts, spoiler-free stuff before we jump into things. I don't think there's a whole lot to spoil in terms of plot. It's a relatively simple movie, but we'll still hold off on it just in case people are interested.
Well, I don't think we'll talk about. I don't need to talk about spoilers for a minute, but I believe that the movie. It is a very obvious satire, and it is an on-the-nose satire a lot of times.
Yes.
Although the characters themselves aren't satirical, well, except for one. But
One
the way that Demi Moore and Megan Qualley played it, they played it perfectly.
They played very straight.
They were not satirical, but the plot of the movie was very satirical. It deals with a lot of real-life issues that, if you think about, are pretty horrifying, like body dysmorphia. That gets talked about a lot, but like
psychological damage to like women, how Hollywood only sees value kind of in like younger, prettier women, and when you hit a certain point, you kind of age out of the game, right? Mm-hmm. So all that gets covered, and it gets covered pretty early too, I might add. And then, so Demi Moore plays like an actress who's been told she's too old to do these things anymore, and she gets offered this this stuff called The Substance, that promises like a whole new you. And so she's feeling low and she does it. And from that point forward, the rest of the movie happens, so I won't really get into it too much. But I think you were right. The satire I thought was nailed. I really enjoy this movie a lot. I have some qualms with the end of the film, which I'll talk about later when we get into spoilers. It is 2 hours and 20 minutes, and I think it's about 20 minutes too long.
I knew you were going to say that. I knew you were going to say that.
You know how I feel about like these surprise bonus acts at the end, and I'll explain when we talk about spoilers where I think a very logical ending point for that movie was.
So I'm going to say that watching it alone, especially, and in the theater, those last 20 minutes were fantastic. In the theater by yourself,
I believe,
like without anything to interrupt you, when it's just the spectacle, which is what they're going on in this. Quite often they mention the spectacle, and. Well, actually, they don't, but...
Well, I mean, they could.
They could have if they wanted to.
They could have if they wanted to, yeah. It is kind of weird because of how over-the-top it gets that everybody's just kind of like, huh.
Well, I mean, I think the ending, it becomes a little bit of style over substance. It actually does, though.
It does, though. It becomes style over substance.
Is that on the nose? Is that intended? I don't know.
It might be. I don't know.
I don't look up interviews with the filmmakers, although on this one I want to know what he was thinking. And when it comes to art, it is intention versus interpretation.
And it is writer-director combo this time as well. So I'm sure there's some good stuff out there. I'm sure I'll read about it at some point. But I highly recommend this movie. I don't think you'll be disappointed in it.
You'll have to be okay with nudity, which is... There is a lot of nudity, but I don't feel I don't like nudity in movies, but I felt in this one, it was purposeful and not sexualized.
Oh no, the nudity is not used for sexuality at all.
It is definitely. It definitely. I don't know how to put this.
It's used to show the juxtaposition between old Demi Moore and The Substance making youthful Demi Moore, and it is used intentionally to show age versus like youth and beauty and like the toll it takes on, and just like there's just it's just a lot about like how like the fantasy of youth and like having like your boobs and breasts kind of like firm and not kind of just like hanging low, which they point out and
I do talk about when we talk on these shows, if anyone has ever seen them.
A few.
3 people have watched that one video, and no, but I do often talk about how I dislike nudity in shows. I talked to Dylan about it, and he goes, right? And, we agree on that. And I've heard that Gen Z actually doesn't particularly like nudity in shows.
Who knows what they like anymore.
Because I just don't...
They like
I usually feel it's unnecessary. But in this movie, it works, and it is a plot point, and, it's very...
It wouldn't feel... The gravitas wouldn't be the same without it. Because it is done, and even the way in which it's done... just in that stark white bathroom. Like
Yeah.
the nudity's never shown with like anything other than like just like that stark white. So the only thing you have is the bodies.
And there was this one scene where the new you is zipping up like a cat suit, and I was like, this is more erotic than anything that involved nudity at any point in time in this.
It was. So yeah, highly recommend it. He's right. You got to be okay with nudity. And the other thing you really got to be okay with is, and this is spoiler adjacent, but you should know it going into it, body horror. This is, I've heard it described as Cronenberg-esque, and let me tell you something, it's not a joke. I was as uncomfortable during certain scenes of this as I was like, it's just, it's so slimy and graphic at times, but it's like still like, I loved it. I just absolutely loved it.
It kind of felt like, it's not grindhousey. So
no,
you can't really compare it to the Terrifier or whatever.
No, it's like
there's no
Fly.
There's no violence involved, which is the nice part.
It's like The Fly. It's like when Brundlefly starts becoming the Fly, and like parts of him start falling out, and it's like, because it's that kind of stuff. It's not just like, let's dismember someone or here's some guts or anything like that.
No, so you have to be able to handle body horror and gore. You would call it gore.
I would say a strong constitution helps. Some of it's awfully squeamish.
Right, there is squeamish things like...
if you don't like things involving teeth or fingernails, let me tell you something. You're not going to like the...
They didn't do any eye stuff. But I feel, in this one, the teeth stuff felt as gratuitous as eye stuff to me, as viscerally gross, which is...
It is very gross.
Which is interesting.
I think we're skirting here on the edges of spoilers.
We are.
So would you recommend this movie?
Oh, for me, it's the... And I don't know, I can't express why this is the statement I'm about to say.
Okay.
But feelings-wise, this is my #1 movie of the year.
Whoa!
This is my movie of the year.
That's incredible. Now, I definitely think some of the acting in this is the best I've seen all year. I don't know if it's my favorite movie of the year because I did watch The Wild Robot.
I haven't seen that yet. La 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 la.
Spoiler: the robot's a little wild. So, but Wild Robot might be it for me because that movie hit me with.
I have like
it's
Rotten Tomatoes is 98, 98.
Yeah. I have a review for it with my brother.
Higher than Toy Story level.
Dude, my brother and father came over and we did one of these and reviewed it. It's on the channel. Check it out. So let's jump into spoilers for The Substance because there are a few things I want to talk about.
Yes.
I'll start with I'll jump into the positives because everybody's like, oh, he's so nitpicky negative. And one of the positives I have of this is because the body, like the nudity in the body is used for like horror, right? It is not used sexually. There's a scene where Demi Moore is getting ready for this date and she keeps comparing herself in the mirror to the new her, which, by the way, when you make a new version of you, they literally split out of your back.
Yeah.
And you have to keep the one alive, and you have 7-day rotations. So it is Demi Moore's 7 days. And she sees the new her lying there naked, like perfect body, and she's looking at herself in the mirror, and she keeps on doing her makeup and reapplying makeup. I was like, please stop. Please stop.
When I saw that in the theater, and I mean, I wasn't nearly as uncomfortable watching this. I didn't feel the need to process while I was watching it the second time.
Fair enough.
But I still loved it. When I saw it in the theater, I was like my hands were on my face. I was like, please don't do this. I had the exact... We had a couple of times where you had a reaction to the movie. I was like, that is what I felt.
Oh, that was me during that scene. I was like, please stop.
Yeah.
Please stop.
No, and I was 100% agreeing with you. And when I saw it the first time, I was like, this is validating because Derek is having a lot of the same thoughts I'm having.
Yeah, that was the most uncomfortable I was during the movie. Also, probably one of the best scenes in the movie too.
Demi Moore's acting in that scene
phenomenal.
Was her acting in this movie.
Dude, they put her under all that makeup and she still is getting all the emotions across. Like when she's in like the freak mode at the end.
Oh, dude, she killed it as Gollum.
She did. So it turns out you can extend your stay as one of the others, but it costs more like spinal fluid stuff.
So the first time this happened was right before the date scene. She's trying to get ready for this date and she just can't. She tries to leave the house and she can't do it because she feels so body dysmorphic.
Right.
But she also, right before the scene, she turned one of her fingers into a claw by extending a day.
Yeah, the youthful one took an extra shot from the older one and ended up, the cost was an aging finger. And it turns out every time the youthful version, Sue, would take from Elizabeth would become more and more decrepit, more and more like twisted and gnarled. And so they do this like this 3 months later thing, and like that's really sets up like this grotesquerie third act stuff.
Okay, so here's what we got to talk about real quick. I noticed that you believed that she was that their consciousnesses were separate.
I believe that their consciousness are mostly separate, because the few transitions they do, like remember how she was like the young one was having sex with the motorcycle guy, and then we see the dream of the motorcycle rushing at her, and then Demi Moore wakes up. Or when Demi Moore sits there and she eats that whole chicken, Sue has the nightmare of pulling an entire chicken leg out of her, and then it cuts to Demi Moore, who's still all greasy from eating the whole chicken. So I think parts of it go through, but I don't think all of it goes through.
But when those happened, those dreams happened during the transition.
During the transition. And I don't think they share all their memories.
My interpretation is they do, but she was so disassociated that she believes that it was like she keeps calling keeps calling the substance number like it's an X.
Yeah.
Like she's drunk and it's an X, and she's doing this, and oh my God, you wouldn't believe what she did today. Oh God, and she's eating and
they're like, there is no she, there's just you.
There was only one, right?
So yeah, maybe I was having a hard time with that, and also I had a minor thing. I'm not sure, like the billboard outside the. You and I were going back and forth of whether or not that giant billboard actually exists or whether it existed only in the mind. And I don't know.
My personal interpretation is that it is a billboard that is like, down on the normal level, not gigantic, not taking up her whole window space. Although it could be. She might have loved having that billboard when it was her.
I just
like maybe she approved of building that billboard because it was her, and every single day she just looked at herself. But my imagination is that it's a smaller billboard, and we see it in the glass all the time when she's Demi Moore,
right?
Because she's obsessed with it.
I at first thought it wasn't real on account of, I think there may have been a small continuity error where they show it, and then in the next scene where she's by the window, it's not there.
There might have been. I'm not 100% sure.
I'll go back and I'll look for it when I do this editing. But in any event, that's not as important, I suppose, as to the.
It would disappoint me though.
The mental, that if it didn't exist.
Yeah. Well, it would disappoint me if there was a continuity error.
I think there might be a continuity error with it, but I'll double check. But
they happen.
It's more so. Yeah. I mean, it's a smaller budget movie as far as I know. I mean, it's.
I'm sure all of it was spent on Demi Moore.
I'm sure a lot of it was spent on prosthetics.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Because they were great.
They were great. The movie is highly stylized. There's a ton of stuff I really like about it. Like I said, the acting's phenomenal. The
cinematography.
Cinematography is
They
great.
do some real... They line up these shots, and I don't... It's hard to talk about it because I don't know what's good and bad cinematography anymore.
You just know good at when you see it.
You know when you see it.
Yeah.
And that movie had it. Like The Shining has it.
A few good transitions, too. Like when she sees the box and then it smashes to her at the box at home. Like... You know all you need to know. Yeah. That one scene that we were commenting on, there's a part where Demi Moore is just sitting there and she's bored out of her mind. And so the camera is down low in the bathroom, and you just see from that down low on the floor, you see the food bag, you see part of the unconscious youth body. You see the door open, light comes on, feet walk over to the bag, turn around, you see there's two, because it says there's 2 days, turns around, closes the door, transitions to the young one.
Right.
So we know she's getting impatient with her time as old Demi Moore.
She doesn't want to be that, yeah.
Yeah, so that was pretty well done. And like I said, it showed us a lot. They didn't tell us anything, but you can extrapolate everything you need. They do a lot of good work like that.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said, the actors killed it. Dennis Quaid's
hilarious.
He was fantastic. And I was trying to think, I was like, Dennis Quaid's a pretty good actor. Let me go back and so I checked his Wikipedia page, and I was like, oh, let me see, what's the last thing I saw? And I was like, there's quite a few credits here. Nothing I've seen. Nothing I've seen.
Day After Tomorrow. I've seen that.
I know, it was like 2005 is like the last time I've really seen Dennis Quaid in a starring role. And I mean, Day After Tomorrow was a shit show, but he did fine.
It's a fun shit show.
Yeah, it's stupid, but it's funny.
It is. So there was we mentioned earlier the third. Well, it's not really the third act. It's like the bonus fourth act, because the third act is a little all right. So this bonus fourth act.
The third act starts, and if you want to say it ends,
is like the 3 months later.
Yes.
Right, the 3 months later is where I say Act 3 begins.
Right.
And it ends where she gets into young one beats up like Gollum Demi Moore. I'm not sure how much footage.
Well, Gollum Demi Moore tries to kill her.
She
with the
does try to kill her.
Which isn't really, is it killing her? Or is it?
I don't, euthanizing.
It's terminating the body.
You're putting a puppy to sleep.
Yeah.
But it's like, I guess you have to use the whole syringe, which, I mean, because she used like 90% of it. Like, that's a ridiculous amount.
Well, she used 90% of it, but then she also CPR'd her and
did
started
the switch
transferring.
kit. The switch kit was nice because I thought like, oh, maybe she's going to take the poison upon herself, but actually they both end up awake.
They both ended up half and half, basically.
Yeah, and so they get into this fight where the young one kills Demi Moore,
Kicks the shit out of her.
It was amazing. She has superhuman powers. I'm pretty sure I can show her kick Demi Moore across the living room.
Yeah.
So then she goes to the New Year's thing that she's supposed to, and she literally starts falling apart. Her teeth come out. She loses it. She goes to press the button on the elevator, and her fingernail. Oh, I hated that. I hated that so much. Because when she realizes she's falling apart, she remembers that she still has a little bit of that injection of like the new U activator, right?
Yep.
And it says 1 use only, but they give you a lot. And so she rushes back to the place. She's falling apart. Like, she can barely see, can't hear. Parts of her are dropping. And she injects herself. Collapses. Gets up, looks in the mirror. This disgusting John Carpenter's Things-esque grotesquerie. And she's like, well, and then it says Monstro. Elizasu. Now, that's when I would have cut to credits. It was when it says Monstro Elizasu. Because I think anything else that happens after that, inconsequential.
I think her showing up to the thing is great.
I like the surrealness of it, like her mind's eye playing out, where they'll just be happy to see her no matter who shows up. I kept expecting that end sequence where she tries to like get on stage, like nobody stopped her or anything like that, and then the blood cannon is just ridiculous. It is so over the top. I mean, I like it too, but I'm not sure I liked it so much.
It was like a 90s Gwar concert. Not a modern Gwar concert, like a 90s one.
I'm just not so sure I liked it in the context of the rest of the film. Because the rest of the film, like, up until the point where we see the Monstro is the most horrific part of the movie we've seen thus far. It is by far the most over-the-top exaggerated thing in a movie full of quite a bit of exaggeration. But this is, like, really dialed up. And I think ending it, especially with, like, that neon green screen and the shaky and just cuts to credits, I would have liked that a lot more because it's like, well, she's screwed. Like, no matter what happens from that point forward, that thing will not, I don't need to see the remaining few hours of its life. And I don't need that scene where the Demi Moore face crawls out of the Il Monstro corpse onto its walk of...
I love that.
And then it's just quickly erased.
It was so on the nose. It was like the beginning of the movie, which was on the nose. Dennis Quaid coming at her, coming into the bathroom and pissing while she's like in a stall, and he's like, oh, she's old. Ugh. 50. And after women turn 25, that's when their fertility starts to drop. So you better get going. He's talking to one of his friends. Clearly his friend has like a
20-something wife.
Gross.
Yeah, I know. No, I just like I said, as stylized as it is and as fun as I think it is, I feel like the movie was already over. It's kind of like how I thought about when we talked about, did you and I do a review for Fall Guy, or did we just discuss it in person? Yeah. The ending of Fall Guy is very similar, where like, even though I love watching all the practical stunts at the end, the movie's over. The movie has been over now, and that we're just showing like, it's like bonus time.
They could have done like Jackie Chan over the ending credits.
I feel the whole, because at first I thought what was going to happen was, while she was on stage, they dress her like Cinderella on purpose, mind you. She's in a Cinderella gown, and we know that it's a midnight show. So I thought they were going to lean harder into that Cinderella thing, and I really thought she was something was going to happen there. And they kind of keep the Cinderella thing going when she tries to escape from like the ball at midnight, right? At the end. And of course, in Cinderella, she loses the slipper. But in this, she loses her whole fucking leg. And just explodes into viscera.
Her falling apart was cool. I mean, like,
the falling apart was fun. I expected that to happen on stage, and I expected her to turn into a grotesquerie on stage. And then just like bubble up and burst or something like that. And people would just be standing there, and it's like, you would just see like applause covered in viscera above it or something. But when they did the Il Monstro, I'll call him, I was like, that's where I would have ended it. Like I said, people are allowed to disagree with me. I loved seeing like the gore cannon. It's just wildly out of tone sort of with the rest of the movie. It felt a lot more like they gave it to Peter Jackson from like the 90s. Yeah.
Oh, not The Frighteners, which is super racist and I'm not kidding.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway, Peter Jackson aside, I'm telling you, it was Gwar.
Yeah, I know, it wasn't my favorite thing. I loved so much about the movie, I just felt a little less let down by the final 20 minutes, that's all. And like I said, it's not that it's terrible, it's just, it took it out of, like, I was like, man, this is really something. I'm like, what? It just didn't work for me is what I'm getting at.
They wanted to get to the body horror. They were clearly, the guy was like, the director was clearly excited. He's like, and now
I thought there was
and now let's do this.
The body horror works more for me on a person than it does as on a creature. You know,
Wasn't a creature? I'm sure.
I'm the same. But like I said, it's just that final 20 minutes really. I'm repeating myself, but it's really the only criticism I have of what I thought was an otherwise well-paced 2-hour movie, because we paused at the hour mark, and I'm like, I don't know how much more there is to tell, and I was mistaken. Yes, there were a lot more avenues to, like, one of them stealing time from the other one, physically stealing their looks, you know, sort of. So I enjoyed that. I enjoyed even their confrontation with each other. Yeah. There's a lot I really liked about it.
Oh, one of the moments that you had a reaction I had in the theater was when she opened the French cooking, and you were like, is she going to start cooking her?
Yeah.
That's exactly what I thought in the theater. I was like, what the hell?
Yeah.
And then, no, it was just she was going crazy, but they wanted that tension in your head.
I really thought she was going to cut up the young one and start eating her. It's like,
I thought they showed us what she was doing.
I will take back what you've taken from me, because she was losing her body parts. Like, at that point, she had the bad legs, the bad... She's like, it's like, you're eating part of me, I will start eating part of you.
Yeah.
But then, of course, you know, the big thing is, like, her own ego realizing that is her, and she'll finally get what she wants by proxy, sort of. It's a really, like, kind of a mind fuck thing for, like, Demi Moore's character, who goes quite insane.
Oh, yeah. Well, even the other one goes insane because she starts stealing spinal fluid from...
Oh, yeah, there was so much of it. I was like, that is too much fluid. But then they do say... It is an activating agent. It is not technically spinal fluid. So
they don't actually say that, but
no, he does. You remember, because he says 7 days will allow the activation, or the stabilizing agent will allow the stabilizing agent to recharge.
That doesn't mean it's not also spinal fluid.
I think it's a little bit of both. Yeah, but
it don't matter. It's just great performances, great satire, on the nose. So
on the nose. Lots of fun though.
There's nothing wrong with
Lots of fun. Highly recommend watching it. If you've seen it and you like it, let us know. I mean, this is a movie that's worth having conversations about.
When I got done at the theater, I saw it alone, and I was like, I stood up, I was like, I need to process this. Like,
yeah, I could see that.
Like,
this feels like a movie that if we weren't having just watched it, I probably would have spent a lot of time reading about. You know? I think there's enough to it. It's a movie of substance. Anyways, you got any final, oh, wow, he's dead. That's okay. I'll just, well, I need a spinal fluid, so I only got 7 more days. Now, any final thoughts, or are you good?
I'm good.
All right, in that case, one of the things we like to do to kind of like wrap up our chats is discuss what we're smoking. So I will start. I am having an Oliva B Melanio. I wish I knew more about these things. I just know it came in an Oliva V sampler pack we have. I like it. I don't like it as much as the Saison. I like the Saison quite a bit. And I'm pairing that with a Sam Adams Old Fezziwig, which is kind of a spiced ale, which actually pairs quite nicely with this kind of like darker, richer cigar. So I'm in flavor country.
I'm smoking a shade-grown HC White. I got it from him. It's pretty good.
I don't know as much about it.
It's nice and smooth.
Yeah, my father bought them. Usually when they come in, we put them in the humidor and we don't touch them for a while, because once those age, you get like pretty good, nice, smooth cigar. So.
No, it's very smooth. I like it. Good draw.
Yeah. So again, thank you for, you know what, really getting on my case to see that movie. I'm glad I waited to watch it with you, because I definitely had a lot more fun watching it with a friend. And, you know, just I'm sure he enjoyed seeing all the moments where I was like squeamish or like yelling at the movie.
Well, you also got to, like, if you were at home, I think you would go 2 hours, 20 minutes. And you'd kind of be like...
Well, that's why I didn't watch it until you came over, because, you know, when you were like, oh, it's coming out, and I was like, I'm kind of busy this weekend. I was like, oh, maybe I'll put it on. Like 2 hours and 20 minutes. I'm like, I'll just wait till Plumber comes over. I had a half day today. It was a good use of the time.
Yeah, that's why seeing it at the theater was good, because...
You're locked in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it. Well, anyways, that concludes our Decadent review of The Substance. Go see it. If you're squeamish, I'm sorry. This movie's not for you. Anyways, till next time.